welcome to the Screen Time Continuum. It is a wonderful Sunday. My name is Keelan, and I am here with the fellas. What's going on, Nick?
Hey, how you doing, man? Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. I can't complain. It's going pretty well. Kind of excited right now because, get to review something exciting and fresh. How you doing, Mike? What's going on over there, brother?
Man, I'm good. Just ran some kids off my damn lawn.
Oh shit!
As you do.
Old man Mike is on the mic. Pun intended, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, with that being said, we are here to review for you guys this evening the 2023 film, the one that a lot of people have been waiting for because it was advertised, I think, like a year ago, and we all were like, "Oh snap, when's that come out?" And it didn't come out until Friday that just passed. They Cloned Tyrone, starring John Boyega, Jamie Foxx, and Tiana Paris. If you have not seen this movie, it literally came out 48 hours ago, or maybe a little 72, a little over 48 hours ago. So this is your spoiler alert. This is your spoiler warning. If you clicked on this link thinking you were going to watch the movie, sorry, that's not what we're here to do. We're here to review the movie, tell you a little bit about it. So this is again your spoiler warning, and if you have not turned away by now after I have said that multiple times, this is your time now to find out what the movie They Clone Tyrone is all about, what we think about it, how we feel about it, and hey, maybe what you feel and what you think will be in the comment section, or at least you'll share it with your friends after you see this episode. Hey, share this episode with your friends. With that being said, the movie They Clone Tyrone, again, came out in 2023, which literally is this year. It is rated R. It runs for 2 hours and 2 minutes, and it is listed as a mystery fantasy. It is directed by Jewel Taylor. Jewel Taylor, to my knowledge, is also the director of Space Jam 2. And it is also a screenplay written by Jewel Taylor and Tony Rettenmeyer. Also, I don't know who did the music. I saw that somewhere, but I can't find it right at this very moment. Whoever did the music for this, like whoever got the clearances and who thought of, hey, let's use this in these places, you guys did an amazing job. Just want to put that at the top. Like, the music was great. Even the original music, in my opinion, was great. But we'll get there. Maybe you guys feel differently. Um, Again, starring John Boyega, Jamie Foxx, Tiana Paris, John Alphonse or Jay Alphonse Jr. Or what am I talking about? Alphonse Nicholson, Kiefer Sutherland, Megan Sousa, David Allen Greer, and a couple of other people will come across your screen that you may have seen in other things, may not have seen in other things.
Dag was in this?
Yeah, he was the pastor.
I didn't realize that was him.
Yeah. Who else would be Frederick Douglass so spot on?
Right. I like Dag. I just didn't realize that was him.
Yeah, that was him definitely in there. And he had I don't know, but he has some dag moments in my opinion. But he's kind of one of those. He has staple things he does. But either way, those are some of the more notable names and faces throughout this movie. And in my opinion, there are a few people who are in the cast when you look at it on Google who I did not see in this movie. So I'm curious, like, oh, who was that character, or what character did they play? Maybe they played extras. Who knows? But on Google, it's my turn to do this. On Google, the plot of this movie says a series of eerie events thrust an unlikely trio into a trail of nefarious government conspiracy. Meh. IMDb says, sorry, it had to take a minute. The exact same thing. No, it says a series of eerie events thrust an unlikely trio into a trail of nefarious government conspiracy in this pulp mystery caper. So it just added a little bit of film jargon on top of that. In my opinion, this movie is about pretty much exactly what they say, but this movie is summarized in one joke that I will state during my first thoughts, first take.
Mm-hmm.
What do we call it again?
Impressions?
Thank you, Gil. First
There you go.
impression. I know there was a word that I was missing there. But yeah, our first impressions. And with that being said, for the movie They Clone Tyrone, rated R, currently also in theaters while also showing on Netflix, your spoiler warning is over. We're going to now give you all of the juice on the movie. Fellas, what are your first impressions, first thoughts? Who wants to go first?
Not me. You can go ahead, Mike. I just put myself on mute real quick. Hold on.
Yeah.
First impression: a pimp, a drug dealer, and a hoe walk into a church.
Really? I clearly just said I was going to use that. I
Did you?
clearly just said I was going to use that.
Did you?
What other joke? You know what? Back to your first.
Did you?
No. Go ahead. I did. Yes. Hey, y'all tell us out there in listening land. Yes, right? Yes.
Did you? Okay, but no. On a more serious note, I mean, it's every conspiracy that we've ever thought it was. I mean, we think there's clones out there. Look at a few of these famous rappers who go to jail and come back looking brand new, and then start acting different. And then all of a sudden, they not the thug that they used to be. Some of them seem a little sassier. I'm just saying. So this is just playing into that. I mean, look at Jamie Foxx himself. He just came out from a hiatus where everybody was wondering what happened to him, and then he look a little different now. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It kind of played into it all, right?
No, it did. It did. I think that the whole rumor mill right now on Jamie Foxx, which could, in my opinion, is kind of weird considering it's like, was he sick? Was he not sick? Like, who knows? But yeah, it's very timely weird.
Right. So
weird.
Officially, I hated this movie, but I ain't gonna lie, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
But the official consensus is nope.
Yeah, right. I was wondering if Jordan Peele directed this for a minute there, like secretly.
I mean, yeah, I have some theories on if there were some other people in the writing room we might not know about.
See?
And not in a bad way, to be very clear. I really feel like this could have plausibly been a collective piece because of in my opinion, the level of acceptance. But are you done, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay. I saw this movie as, if I'm being totally honest, you won't get the essence, but if you were ever curious to know what a black person is probably thinking, like just random thoughts all mushed into a 2-hour movie, yeah, you could probably watch this and be like, wait, what? Like, this is the kind of shit y'all be thinking. Like, hey, look, you never know. You never know. And it makes so much sense sometimes. And then it just sounds so silly sometimes too. This movie was fun. This movie was absolutely fun. But I'm not quite sure if everybody's going to understand what's fun about it. I think some people could take offense to this movie. I think some people could just think it's a bad movie because they don't understand some of the concepts and premise. If you haven't been around for certain jokes, or if you haven't been at the table for certain discussions, some of this movie could really go over your head, if I'm being totally honest. But I liked it. I liked it a lot. And I think one of my biggest takeaways from this movie is you can't take yourself too serious, or else you become even more lost than you think you already were. Beyond that, I don't know how much more I can get into it. Cinematically, I like this movie. The music was nice. The acting was actually pretty solid. But again, it's one of those movies where I think it's really all about how you view things. Like, what is your outlook on certain scenarios, and that's gonna shape, in my opinion, how you feel about this movie. No matter who you are, whether you're one of us or just somebody else out there.
One of us.
So, Nick.
Here we go.
Oh, man, I was hoping I could just skate for the next 45 minutes. So I'm gonna try to be as nuanced as possible here. There's a lot of things that I wanted to like about the movie, and there are a lot of things that I do like about the movie. However, I'm confused by some of the elements of it. I understand that it's heavily homage to blaxploitation films. And there's, decent sci-fi elements in it too. I think if I was going to critique it, there's a lot of convolutedness in the sci-fi elements. And then also I feel like they kind of maybe pulled the cop out, but maybe it's not a cop out in the context of relying as becoming a homage to older films. There were some issues that I had with the cinematography. I knew I wanted to like the cinematography of this movie because it's very grainy. If you took the file and then just turned all the noise up on it, that's what you would get. Very old school film feel, but
Almost
that's not.
analog.
Yeah, but it's not film. It's digital. It's digital. So they overlaid film quality to a digital thing. They even put burn marks in the top right corner. I noticed
Okay,
that a few times.
I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask that, and
Hmm.
there were a few digital glitches. Am I tripping?
No, it's just the noise from the making it so grainy. Like they took the lever on the grain and then just turned it all the way up
Turned it
to
up.
100.
That makes sense.
So certain areas of the film look a lot noisier than others. Um, and so that's okay. But I think my biggest critique of this thing is the sound design. The sound design is bad as far as the mix goes. The acting is at like this level and the dialogue is very quiet, and then the music is hitting you over the head, so I kept having to vary between turning the volume up and down, which is
Right.
kind of annoying.
I I want to comment on that really quick, and I'm sorry to
Hmm.
keep doing that in your first take,
No, you're
but
good.
it's so weird you say that. It's something I thought about during that. Is that made me think of you ever drive through a neighborhood and it's really quiet, but then you hit the main streets and it's almost like, what the hell is going on? And then you hit that next corner and it's doing this, and it's like, that's what that kind of was giving me the impression of. And I don't think they were doing that intentionally, but somehow that was enhancing my movie experience. But I see how it could
Mm.
take away as well.
Yeah,
Um,
I gave up on
yeah,
trying to hear the characters. I just relied on the subtitles, which worked
got it.
well enough.
Yeah,
But there were a lot of moments where the conversations were just not mic'd properly.
yeah,
And
I
then you
get it.
get a big music scene and that's blaring, which is fine. I like it when it's, like noisy. But I just found that a lot of the dialogue pieces were a little bit too quiet, where I'm just like, okay, I really can't hear the characters. Um, but yeah, I think this isn't a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination, and I think that I like the sci-fi elements. I like that they're trying to be super flashy and stylistic. I think it's a bold decision and choice, and not you're not going to hit the mark every time, but I respect the effort. So yeah, those first impressions.
Nice. And the only reason I wanted to share that is because I don't think I'm ever gonna have a point in this movie where that's gonna come back up in this review.
Mm. No, I get you.
Like, hey, oh, back to what we were saying about the sound. It's never gonna happen.
Hmm.
Um, all right, yeah. Oh, I also wanted to add in my first impressions. I meant to say this. I noticed that this movie already has a lot of review content out there, and something I saw that was very interesting was they it was being related to the chakras. The characters were being related to chakras and the color they wear and things like that. And at first I didn't really. I was like, wait, what? And then I watched the movie and I was like, oh shit. I kind of get what they're saying. Like I can totally wrap my head around that there's probably another side, like what would that be? Um Esoteric? Would that be esoteric?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm not sure either, honestly. But
Just
I that
mercy for
there could
me.
be a hey, same thing over here. I'm trying to catch it. But I think there could be a, like, I guess you could call it a spiritual side, or like another, not language, but another message being sent to people who are in the know of something like that as well. Just based on what I was able to pull from scrolling through, like, oh man, there's a lot of other people who felt this was worth covering. So I thought that was pretty cool, just catching that off top. With that being said, um, yeah, I have to just say one way I felt from the very jump, uh, this is a black ass movie. Like from the very beginning, and they do a few things, in my opinion. They kind of try to make you feel like you're about to watch a real homeboy type movie, like Hometown. You're gonna understand a lot of colloquialisms will be used, et cetera, et cetera. Um, but then of course they 20 minutes of, oh hey, this is I'm in my neighborhood type of a movie, like almost like I'm about to watch a 2023 Boys in the Hood, so to speak. And then things change on us real fast. Uh, so yeah, we
Well,
get yeah,
medium fast.
medium fast.
It takes a little bit to get there. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know what I'm thinking, but I know what you're saying before you really understand what's going on. The
Hmm.
confusion starts earlier than the understanding does, for sure. It's a lot of confusion early in this damn movie. Um, so we meet Fontaine. Tane is a dealer, and he got little Junebug, little Junie. You know, that's his snitch. And we see him. We see Fontaine go through this cycle of a day where he finds out where the ops are, you know, the other drug dealers in the neighborhood. He runs over one of the dealers. The head guy has to come out. They have a whole thing. And you realize that these are just two low-level drug dealers at each other's throat because they both need the $20, $30 they're going to get out the situation. Um, but we also see Fontaine walk out of the liquor store, and there's an old dude named Frog. And the first thing we hear Frog say is in the water, young blood. So when you paying attention, or if you know, there's always that old wise sage, and they're always the old drunk. The old drunk at
Message.
the liquor store
This is
always know
Sphinx.
what's going on. Yeah, he's basically a sphinx, exactly. Um, so yeah, uh, 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 that's when you understand, if you know, for those, again, as I said from the beginning, I was well aware that there are gonna be people who like, wait, I don't get why that goes that way. Um, a lot of this movie is not cinematic decision making. It is, oh man, remember this thing that happened the other day? All right, let's write that on paper and formulate it into a scene. Or remember that thing that we saw when we were a kid? A lot of the beginning of this movie was like trying to like pull some type of nostalgia out of you, pull some familiarity out of you. Or at least from what I saw, that's how I was seeing it. And we meet Slick Charles. Slick Charles is a pimp who purchases his wares from Fontaine, and he owes him some money. So we see all of them meet each other. We get introduced to everybody, including Yo Yo, who is a prostitute or a hoe who's just trying to retire, but she can't get out the game because, you know, she need that money so she can leave. But what we end up seeing is Fontaine is killed by Isaac, and yeah, that should be the end of the movie because we just watched the main character
Oh,
get killed.
time loop. No, that's what I said when I
You
saw
know
it.
what? Initially, I thought, oh, so Groundhog's Day, huh? In the
Yeah.
Yep,
hood.
yep,
Yeah.
That's
that
the
was the
first
first thing.
thought.
So
Mhm.
here's what I started thinking. Immediately, here's what I thought of. And now later in the movie, I thought some other things, but immediately I thought Groundhog's Day, The Truman Show, things like that.
It's actually
Right?
Westworld.
Westworld, yeah,
Yeah.
Westworld,
It's literally
literally
Westworld.
Westworld.
Right.
No, you're
Yeah.
right. You're right. And then I also started thinking a little later in this movie. This is also the black version of like Pleasantville or WandaVision. But yeah, this is the black version of like those Twilight Zone type movies where you're kind of stuck in a suburban town and everybody does the same thing a particular way, but nobody knows why. And if you break the difference, then you're you're the person that's odd man out. Um, and yeah, after getting shot, Fontaine just wakes up the next day. That's the
Or the
part that
same day.
that's that's
No,
funny.
it's the next day because Yo-Yo's not a clone.
I know, but it starts off exactly how the previous day started.
True.
Every
He does
time he wakes
everything
up
the
from
same.
death, it
Yeah.
works out the same way
Hmm. Goes to the
initially.
liquor store,
Start,
gets a
yeah, because he
scratcher.
starts at the same point.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that's what it is he's conditioned to start at a particular point. So yeah,
It's
I
his
guess that
loop.
is why that's his loop, exactly.
Hmm.
Um, which we don't really learn that till a little bit later. But some other things we find out later just break your heart. But you kind of figured that if you were paying attention. Something I noticed when he came out of the liquor store, or actually no, not before he came out of the liquor store. When we first come out of the liquor store at the very beginning, you see the guys who were having a discussion about Tupac being alive. You see the guy who handing out his music. You know what I'm saying? I got that new ruckus. I
Mhm.
got that new ruckus. And something just let me know that he or the term ruckus in the music was going to be very important throughout this film. But it seems like at first he doesn't realize, and he's questioning, was he shot? Did yesterday really happen? But then he starts to see things like the pizza box, and he realizes yesterday for sure definitely happened.
Right.
And he goes back to meet up with Slick Charles, and Slick Charles is shook because he like, hey yo, I just saw you get killed. Like, what's going on? And he don't believe him, so we take him to Yo-Yo for some clarity, and Yo-Yo sheds a little clarity, and they decide, or no, not they decide. Fontaine emotionally decides, oh no, we're gonna get to the bottom of this. Y'all with me now. Like, hey, hold on now, player. Nobody volunteered for this. Nobody volunteered for this. Now he just got a whole crew. But that was actually probably the weirdest thing to me about this movie was nobody asked to go on this trip. He kind of just his emotions led this entire movie.
I guess they were curious because they just saw him get murdered.
That's for
Right.
sure.
So they're probably wondering what the hell is going on.
Yeah. And the next morning after he Frog, I forgot what Frog said to him the second time. But I know the third time he said, got that new car smell, young blood. Man, that was scary. Anyway, when he wakes up and he's getting his 40 ounce, he looks up and he sees shot up him wobbling and stumbling down the street.
Mm-hmm.
And then he sees shot up him also get snatched up. And that's what also makes him like, something is off. Either way, fast forward, and they now know that everything, Fontaine for sure knows that he didn't make it, but he's still there. So they all have a little joke about it, a little hee ha ha. They go to the house. Now, how did they find this house? They found the house because Yo-Yo has a regular John, that Slick Charles did not sanction, but she has a John that she goes over there and sees, and she always sees the same vehicle right over in that area. Same vehicle that pulled up after he got shot. Now, at first, we were thinking as the viewers that she's talking about Isaac's car, but she wasn't talking about Isaac's car. She was talking about the black SUV. So I'm trying to figure out if the black SUV was there after he got shot. How was he stumbling down the street the next day?
That was his other body. His other body. It was apparently not dead. This is where I'm talking about the convolutedness. So yeah, apparently sometimes
the consciousness doesn't pass on.
It would see the consciousness is it's a new human that gets brainwashed into the consciousness. So I guess there are times in which bodies don't actually die and then they wake up in the underground and then make their way out somehow. Who knows? Not a whole lot of explanation.
I realized that in this moment just now. I think that happened twice in this movie.
Maybe. Well, it happens at the end of the movie too, right? All of those people coming out.
Technically, that's so yeah, that's twice. Dang. But yeah, Fontaine sees, as I put here, yesterday's body. It ain't end up. Oh, sorry, no, whoa. I jumped too far ahead. They go and they find the house, and then they bust in the house, and they find a break room, which was like, wait, what? And then they find an elevator, and that elevator takes them to an underground laboratory, and they meet who at first I thought was Eric Andre, but they meet a light-skinned Q-tip man who somebody kept telling me, I kept getting told like, no, that's a white, he's white. What are you talking about? And I'm like, no, he's supposed to be mixed. That's the point of the curly fro and the goatee. And he's listening to Michael Jackson.
No, I thought it was. Nope. I'm not going to say it because we'll get taken off of YouTube.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I think it's a reference to another type of people. So I'm just going to
send that to me.
Yeah.
Send that to me in private chat.
Yeah. Don't worry about
it. Well, yeah, that was my theory. Is that they were the people who had fallen victim and were converted, and the only thing, like, because it was said at the end that they passed, but
I put it in the private
dark
chat
hair. Got you. So they meet the lab tech and they end up accidentally killing the lab tech because Slick Charles decides he gonna sniff some white powder that he sees. And I absolutely can understand. I'm talking to you.
Mhm.
He sniffs some white powder he sees as he's snooping around, and I keep wanting to call this dude Dark Charles so bad.
Dark Charles.
Oh crap, Fontaine.
Yes.
Cause Slick Charles, and I'm just like,
Mhm.
can I make this easier? Can I call him something else? Can I call him something else?
Well, you
But
can call him Finn.
Finn, nah, Tang.
Finn
Call him
Tang.
Tang. My bad, Tang. I will call that man Fontaine. I'm not calling that man Tang. Come on, Tang.
Right, that's too close to taint, and
See, you said it. I didn't.
I
So
don't care about saying it.
they find the elevator and they end up going down to the lab, and they find the guy that's down there who's the lab tech. Um, and they end up killing him because you
On
know
accident.
yeah, because Slick Charles was doing some what he thought was cocaine or whatever that was, and he
Right.
got all itchy and scary and laughy and just couldn't control himself. He got
And that
startled because Yo-Yo was over there playing scientist. That didn't make sense to me.
right. That whole scene kind of made me mad.
Well,
I-
they were all supposed to be distracted while Fontaine saw yesterday's body.
What's
Well,
the
see,
point? Oh yeah, go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
well, for me, the whole scene from the time they enter the house all the way into the lab kind of made me angry because I was like, I couldn't take neither one of these motherfuckers to do nothing quiet
Mm-mm.
because they talking too much, they too loud, they
Hey,
making jokes and acting stupid,
yeah, that's
and
what
I'm
we
in a
do.
life or death situation. Man, look,
Hey, what do
Mhm.
black people do when they scared? What do
man,
black
I
people do
don't
when they
care
scared?
what
They make
other
light of
ones
the
do.
situation.
I
They,
don't
they,
care if we,
they make light of the
man,
situation.
look,
We make
man,
light of the
if I'm
situation.
infiltrating the house and I got a gun out, it's for a reason. I need
You still
everybody
Team
to
Six?
shut the hell up.
Who you still Team Six?
Yes,
You busting in with the clean sweeps, tucking and rolling,
yes, you
popping
do
out on
know
one
that.
knee.
You do know I have to clear. Never mind.
Yes, you have to clear every room before you descend the elevator.
That's not what I was gonna say, but
Oh,
close enough. Close enough. You understand?
I'm
What's
being
the point
funny,
of the
but I'm right
powder
there with you.
Well, the
So
powder
the
is the
powder,
drug that they put in the food and then
and the
the
black
chicken?
MSG.
But it's just supposed to make you laugh?
So
no.
it's a different no. It's a different formula for different things. So that particular white powder is what they were using in the chicken,
Which just made them laugh.
which made them laugh, made them agreeable.
It's all mind control chemicals.
Yeah, it's all different variations of mind control chemicals. So you
Okay.
had the perm chemical make you relax and forget about your worries. The chicken chemical make you friendly and laugh. Uh, I had written them down. The grape drink made you obedient, and that was the whole point of the church. The music did variation of things. Mostly, you pay attention to what the name is, and that's gonna tell you what it do to you. The liquor seemed to actually open you up.
You know, I'm going to say this: if this was a white person's perspective, they'd be put on a list.
Yes, yes,
Just
1,000%.
saying. Just saying.
Well, and that's why I said to me there are definitely white variations of this movie, no question.
Yeah, well,
It's just
I
what you call 'em,
definitely are. I just think
you
that
know.
they'd be being watched by the FBI.
Oh yeah, no. If this movie wasn't written by, directed by, and bankrolled probably by the black people at Netflix, then I don't think we'd be watching it right now because somebody would definitely be like, "Oh, I'm never gonna see the light of day of
Well,
this."
since
Mm.
And that's
since
why they had to
Jamie's
put names
actual
like John
clone was in
Boyega
it,
and Jamie Foxx in it. I think that's the original Jamie Foxx. Since you want to keep playing with it,
Oh boy.
how do you
how
know?
about that? I don't, but how do you?
How
How about that? Is that the American John Boyega or the English John Boyega? How about that? Hmm? Hmm?
Who says there's a difference?
Exactly. I know that's not the John Boyega that was in Star Wars. I'll tell you that.
I feel bad for John Boyega, man. Star Wars screwed him over.
Did it?
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah. Are you
Mhm.
kidding
Oh,
me?
Yeah.
why? Because they wouldn't let him be on the poster in China.
bro, no.
Not just that. Not
Let's
just
just
that.
let's just say this. Let's just say this, and we'll get off of it. Let's just say
All
this,
right.
and we'll get off of it. It was the closest thing to typecast for a reveal that you could think of. If you really put perspective on, he was able to do everything except be the actual hero of his own movie.
Well,
Mhm.
because it wasn't his movie. He was only supposed to be.
But he was literally the marketing tool.
Yeah.
That's why they
He's
did
the
him
first
dirty.
thing you see in the first trailer.
Diversity.
And that's
Yeah.
why they did him dirty, because you used him as the marketing tool, and he wasn't even the highest paid actor on that movie.
He should have been a Jedi. Doesn't make any sense.
Barely an errand boy.
Well, yeah, no, definitely.
There's only one Jedi
Yeah, that's
of that
true.
persuasion.
That's true.
And he don't give a fuck, motherfucker.
He said, "Make my lightsaber purple so that people can pick me out in the crowd."
Man, and when they said that was his idea, I was like, stand up for this man.
Yeah.
Stand up for this man. Purple, you know why it's purple? For great
He knows
treatment,
how to market
baby.
himself. Yep.
He know who
Definitely.
he is. Anyway, so yeah, they get the lab tech. Fontaine ends up seeing yesterday's body, and they end up having a run and hold up at Yo-Yo's house, because for the first time in this movie, these fools can't not pull a trigger, because we just got to keep our finger on the trigger. No type of gun control and understanding and obedience with firearm safety.
Well, no, but I don't know if that was
I understand why.
exactly.
I understand why.
Mhm.
I don't like it, but I do understand why. I'm having a mic moment. Sorry.
Stereotypes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which this movie is littered with, and honestly, it's almost like
That's kind of the point.
This movie, that's a 1,000% the point of this movie. But this movie is almost like, if you enjoy the Boondocks TV show, you will enjoy this movie. You'll understand this movie.
Yeah.
So maybe then I can ask you guys, because that's what that was my key takeaway, is that it casts everybody in an extremely negative light. Not just white people, but also black people. So that was purposeful.
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah. So because it was about running all the stereotypes and cliches.
Yeah. Everything was literal and overt. Like this is like
very overt.
Yeah, this is like a very you get what you see type of a movie. Like, they weren't trying to send any extra messages. They were telling you the bullshit right out. And you could see it as entertainment, or you could see it as a message, but either way, it was both. So, in my opinion, just so y'all know, don't take this movie off Netflix. This is only my opinion. Well, our opinion in this situation.
They were about to. It's a good thing you said that.
I'm sure they were. Look, this movie, I don't know what's going on with Netflix lately, but this movie paused like 7 times, to the point at which I was like, are they trying to take it off while I'm watching it?
Oh, no. I think it's probably just a lot of people are watching it. So
yeah.
I had to buffer or something.
Not in 2023. I don't want no buffering. I pay too much. Netflix done gone too high to be buffering.
The Netflix is too damn high.
The Netflix is too high.
Man.
Yeah.
We ain't gonna talk about what they cost right about now, because anyway. So they end up holding up at Yo-Yo's grandmother's house, who Yo-Yo keeps going through the thing. Now, of course, we see that Yo-Yo has a bunch of trophies, and she has a family, apparently, that loves her. And you start questioning, like, yo, why is Yo-Yo a hoe? Like, what's going on?
Choices.
She's not no hoe no mo.
She ain't no hoe no mo. She retired. You right. She retired.
She's trying to get into Nashville, you guys.
No, she said Memphis.
Oh, Memphis. Sorry, I thought you said that. It is Memphis. Okay,
Memphis.
I'm trying to get to Memphis. Yeah,
I gotta say it just because you said it. Just because you know why she going to Memphis, don't you?
Graceland.
That's Nashville. That's Nashville. But that's the point.
It's all Tennessee.
Graceland. She going to Trapland.
Oh, okay, Trapland. Gotcha. Right on.
That's where, in the words of the way I've been told, because I was like, oh man, I would love to go to Nashville, Tennessee, and Memphis, and they be like, hold on, you can't do both in the same trip. I'm like, wait, what? They was like, it don't work like that. Like, you just don't do both in the same trip. I'm like, but why not? And they're like, because Nashville is Nashville and Memphis is Memphis. The only thing I could ascertain from that is Beverly Hills and Compton.
Man, Memphis is one of the most dangerous places right now too.
Right, yeah. Right now, is you know what I've learned. Big cities are always dangerous in the summer. I don't know why people go on vacation to big cities in the summer. Big cities are like winter vacation spots.
Oh yeah, crime increases with heat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You go
People
down there,
And
are
they
then
you
pissed.
kids are
never
out
know
of
what
school
city's
too for
exposed to.
travel.
Right.
Everybody out. Look, ain't just kids. It's folk that ain't got to go to work.
Well,
Catch 10 teachers down in Cancun this week and ask them what's the square root of 144. They don't know. They don't know.
Why? They're teachers. They
'Cause
should
they
know.
drunk.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That's what you're saying.
It's Cancun.
All right, gotcha. Yeah.
So anyway, so Tang goes and he gets his boys and they go back to the house, and the house has been turned back into a regular house. They got a whole ass family living there, man. And yeah, the lab tech is seen the same day after they go get some food because ain't no damn food in Yo-Yo's grandmama house. Why your grandmama don't cook? That was weird to me that her grandmama ain't cook.
not to me,
Why?
because grandma probably didn't really exist.
Yeah.
No, she wasn't a part of the program.
Right.
Yeah, she didn't exist. That's why she didn't cook. Makes sense.
No. But I'm saying Yo-Yo's not a part of the program, so I would think her family actually exists.
Oh, right.
Because
Yeah.
it was clear there were real people in there, and then there were clones. She wasn't a clone, so her
But
family would have.
as loud as they was talking in that old lady house in the middle of the night, and she didn't come in and
Yeah, I
say,
thought that too. I
"Cut
thought that.
Not a
that
thing.
out." Not no sound.
I thought the
Yeah.
same thing until we found out she wasn't a clone.
Maybe she
I
just
Well,
didn't.
her not
know.
being a clone doesn't mean that
Her life
the
ain't
people
complicated.
around her ain't affected still.
That's a fair point that I didn't consider, honestly. So okay, yeah, there we go. Maybe Granny wasn't real. There's some other folk that wasn't real, like Tang Mama. That shit made me almost cry, man.
I was not surprised. I actually called that one.
I thought that from the very first time. He's like, "Mama, you want some food?" And she's like, "No, I already ate at the fish fry, and I'm still full." Since when? If your mama is a Southern lady that go to the fish fry, she a big girl. She gonna want that second plate. If you
You
don't open
stupid.
that door, nah, I'm being real. I'm not. I started to like bite my tongue and find a nicer way to say it, but I'm not. I just can't. She a big girl, and I say it that way because that's love down there. Like big women in the South isn't a bad thing. That she eat well. She
The one
taken care of.
stereotype they
She
didn't
good.
go for.
Man. The one that just like, nah, we could find some goodness to that. You know what I'm saying?
The one trope they didn't promote in this movie.
Mama probably
So is
be
this
like,
the first time that Fontaine finds out that he doesn't have a mother? Or are we to believe that he probably does this once in a while? Because you can't expect him. But okay, so how long has he been around? How long has he existed? Assumedly for a very long time.
Yeah.
So
well, the original Fontaine's an old man.
Right. Yeah. So I assume that he's been around for a while, long enough to check on his mother at least once, right?
Maybe. But we know, as we note, that he starts before that. Like there is a fine point where they start him, and he has no recollection of a lot of the shit he does after. So, no matter what, even if he were to do that, by the time he resets, comes back, they just set it all back up.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that there's a little bit of inconsistency there because he can seem to keep some of his memories when he wants to, and then other times he's thrown into a loop. So I don't really know. I was
confused by that too.
Yeah.
And what I gathered was there were times where we probably just didn't realize we were looking at the same Fontaine and he didn't switch. That makes sense?
I don't know. Honestly, I think it gets a little bit muddy.
A little muddy, yeah.
A little muddy if you try to like parse out how all of that works. The mother thing is what made me sort of throw me into that thing, because then it's like, well, how long has he been around? If the mother's not there, you don't just try to open your mother's door once in a while to check on her. Like,
hell no.
Okay, come on, man.
That's true. That part's true.
Okay, no, hold on. A year goes by and he hasn't seen his mother once, and he's not going to go check on her. Come on.
No, the part that's true is that you don't just be opening her door.
Of course not. But you can knock on her.
Weird line. It's an absolute weird line, and I get you from a real stance, right?
Yeah, it's just like, come on, guys. Like, we can't just say that Either he's been put on a 24-hour loop constantly, which seems to be what he actually is that he's on a 24-hour loop. And sometimes his 24-hour loop ends with him getting shot, and sometimes it ends with him going to bed. Because you see that at the end of the movie, he's on another 24-hour loop. So maybe it's that he's only ever on a 24-hour loop, and because he broke out of his loop, then he can see that his mom's actually not real. Then I get that. But you can't say that he has like no just like rinse repeat cycle every day and that his mother isn't real. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
So I can piggyback off what you're saying, and I get it. So the people who are real still live everyday life, but he's stuck in a routine.
Yes.
His routine is kind of like a 24-hour system.
Yeah.
I get, so until he breaks out, which sometimes he breaks the routine, those are the times he might have checked to see if he has a real mom or not.
Yes.
And other times he didn't. The same thing with Slick Charles, even though Slick Charles breaks out a lot less. Because there's clearly contingencies for Fontaine breaking out.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Right.
I see what you're, I get it. But
it would just have to be that his loop is so tight that he never thinks to check on his mom.
Nah, it's that he black and his loop is so tight that he got black rules still logged in his head, and you don't go in your mama door. Shit, it's black men in the family. You don't go in so and so's room.
I understand, man, but you're still gonna ask what your mom's doing after she says no thanks. I've been to the fish fry 5 days in a row. You're gonna be like, wait a minute.
On the mama, we got nice moms. Okay. All of us on here, we all have.
You guys are you're defending this way too much. I'm just saying that it's a bit inconsistent.
If I'm being honest, and I say it on air, I know some folk who got mamas, man. We ain't even like. I swear
that you've never seen before.
No.
Okay, that's my point.
I mean, like. That you ain't never seen a whole half of their house.
The movie could have just cloned his mother.
Yeah, they could have definitely cloned his mother.
Why couldn't he?
But I think that would have been torture for the original Fontaine.
Maybe, but it could have been another woman that just pretended to be his mother. There's no rules here. We can do whatever we want.
I hear you.
We're putting laughing powder in chicken. Let's do it.
I hate to tell you, you sound like old Fontaine right now.
Old Fontaine. We'll talk about old Fontaine because he's yeah. Oh boy.
So let's get back to the story. They go to grandma's house. At the chicken shack, Yo-Yo goes and she's flirting with the manager who's the same as the guy. So we find out that they're kind of, I guess, clones to a level. Yeah. We find out at the end they are clones.
Yeah, they were the perfected. Yeah, they're the perfected white people.
Just can't get that damn hair right.
Right. Yeah.
Literally what he said. Just can't get that damn hair right. Damn hair just wouldn't stop. Anyway. So yeah, Yo-Yo discovers that the whole Glen is an experiment because she's in the manager's office and she sees all of the monitors, and he tells her a little bit about the chicken and stuff because, even for the ones that pass and that are perfected, and yes, that's what they said in the movie, they pass. That is also a statement towards them being able to assimilate into white culture easier. And that's what this whole movie is about. Assimilation versus annihilation is what old Fontaine talks about later. But we find out that the whole Glen is an experiment site, and they're all being experimented on through the chicken and the hair grease and all those things we talked about a little bit earlier. They see a delivery truck and they follow it. Eventually, Slick ends up getting stuck in the back while Fontaine is being confronted by Isaac, and Isaac is considering him Lazarus because he shot this fool 6 times. But yeah, he put a whole 50 cent, came back. They end up following the truck to a church, and first they can't find Slick because Tang got sidetracked, but then they end up going to talk to Old Frog, and Old Frog drops a bunch of clues, and I'm sitting there like, this is what I was talking about. And it's really a thing in real life that I really believe. Like you find certain people who really have information. Now you're gonna find drunks that are just drunks, but then sometimes you find drunks and you like, yo, you are hella wise. Like, what is going on? Why? What is this? Frog was that. Frog knew everything that was going on, and I'm curious to know, how did Frog know everything? But that doesn't come up in the movie.
It's just a trope simulation, the Oracle.
Yeah.
The Sphinx, Diogenes. It's always the outsider that, or the hermit that knows the truth, or the seer. Yeah,
I
it's just a
liked it when he
very
said he
old.
had that new car smell.
Young blood, you got the new car smell. I was like, that's funny.
Right.
Um, but so as they're in the church, they see it all getting in church. That's where the grape drink at. And as soon as they went at the church, I was like, the church. That's where they took the grape drink. And my wife was like, what do you mean? And I was like, the grape drink. I was like, because the grape drink is what they use in a Baptist church instead of using wine, because they don't want us to get turned up.
Stuff.
Which is funny because in the Catholic Church they use the real stuff. That's another conversation.
I want that purple stuff.
I want that purple
baby.
drink.
Grape drink, baby. So they giving out that
Sonny
grape
D.
drink.
What is juice?
My green drink.
Green drink.
Right. It's apple.
Apple drink, sir. Apple drink. It's green.
Is that what they said? It's green. Yeah, that's apple drink. Now, I want to let y'all know that the music that started playing when they started talking about obedience, and I saw it coming, I was like, oh, they about to turn up. It's about to turn into a club because they just got their little elixir in, got their grape drink in. He started talking about obedience. Yes, that's exactly what happens, Mike.
No, I was going to say that was art imitating life.
Wasn't it, though?
Because
that happened this morning somewhere.
I saw it. I saw a few churches over Easter. They had a performance where, it looked like a club.
Yeah.
Some of the stories they was telling was very club-like.
Yeah, that's what they do. They go to church to repent. They trying to convert. They're trying to find their way.
It's interesting.
I don't think that's what they're doing.
It's interesting to me though, because like this movie kind of strikes me as a very cynical. It paints everything in a bad light. The church, it's painting the religion in a bad light as an opium of the masses, and sort of, like even the priest, the pastor is singing like, doesn't matter that your son got shot, and blah blah blah. Sit at the top of his lungs.
They really be saying though.
Oh, I know, I guess, but it's also like, dude. So if everything is shit, you're not going to present an option, an alternate option. This movie doesn't present an alternative.
The movie is telling you there is no alternative.
Okay, all right, that's pretty black pill.
It sucks, but that's the plight.
I guess.
And that's why I started this movie with saying, if you wanted to get inside the mind of the random thoughts all squished into 2 hours, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is really like the rundown of all the negative stereotypes and like, oh, this is how they see us moments kind of snowballed into one. And in my opinion, they put it together well. It's not like tackily put together. But
well, I mean, the insinuation of the movie is that all of this is due to an underground group of white people controlling everything. So I would think that if that's the case, that's sort of the statement, you would want to present the alternative that could counter that sort of tyranny.
Well, the alternative would probably be something led by a black man, but the lead geneticist behind the whole situation is a black man.
Right. So he sold out. Right.
And that's kind of the other side of like, if
I didn't really get that.
Well, to me, it's the same thing that we just watched happen in the movie with the psionics.
Gray Matter.
Gray Matter. It's the same thing we just watched with the bad guy in that, where it's like survival of the fittest kind of thing. So you're willing to take out your own and to harm your own in so many ways to feed what you believe is the greater good. Or to, survive.
Yeah, could you elucidate the old Fontaine's goal? What are they trying to do? What is the underground white people trying to do?
Assimilate instead of annihilate. That's what he said. That's the
goal.
So
it's to make black people not
threatening.
The thing that they're represented in the movie.
Yeah, less threatening.
Okay.
I didn't quite get it either.
That's weird because it's kind of, I mean, it's insinuating that black culture is poverty, gang violence, and drugs.
I think that's the weird thing is, for a minute I was wondering too, like, how are they going to clean that up? And I didn't like that they really just pitted on like, oh no, that's how we make you guys live as an experiment. It's like, wait. Some of these people aren't your clone. So some of this is 1,000% choice and circumstance. Right. Like Yo-Yo, for instance. And that's why I was glad when Mike said, like, nah, she chose to be a hoe. Like, yeah, okay, you're right. Her choices did lead her to be a hoe because she's not a clone. She sees the situation and she It's the notion of some people have the routine. Like some people are literally just stuck in the system, and then other people see this thing going on, and they're like, I guess I'll go do that too.
Yeah.
And then they start to point fingers, like, hold on, wait, you can't blame nobody else. You chose to be a part of this. Some of these other people don't have a choice. Like,
yeah. I think that the message there gets a little bit weird because again, like it seems to make the statement that the plight of this community, the Glen, is really due to the underground network of people that are pulling the strings and creating this Westworld thing. And their goal is to make Black people more white.
right.
But then that means that the culture
More
that
agreeable.
we'd want to retain is this culture of going to get the 40s and drug dealing and gang violence and all of that stuff.
Which is the part I didn't like.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was the part where I was like, hold on, wait. So are we saying that by taking them out of the picture, we no longer do some of the ignorant shit? Or are we saying that by taking them out of the picture, we're now allowed to do the ignorant shit?
Or by not
choice?
doing that stuff, you're assimilating and being white. That's the more insidious claim. Is that if you're not,
Yeah, that's the argument I have in real life that I don't like. You're right.
Yeah, if you're not doing the drug dealing and the gang banging, then you're being white.
Now that's an argument I have in real life, but I hate
Yeah.
that you're right. That's really kind of what this movie gets at towards the end. But really quick, there is a moment in this movie in the church that gets towards something I was having a discussion I was having with a friend about music in theology, so to speak. And there is a rendition that I believe was a rendition of Juvenile's "Back That Ass Up" being played in the club. I mean, sorry, in the church. That wasn't a club. In the church. You like that?
Yeah. It's the grape drink.
Them grape drink, baby.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I'm sure there were other grape drinks back in the day that were purple, and they drink those. The license plate to the van that was the delivery van said a swell place, and then it said I am 4D460. Now I couldn't really figure it out, but I felt like it said I'm mad for something else, or I'm 40460. I don't know what that part means. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Felt like there was a message there I was missing.
There might have been. Yeah, could be an Easter egg. Maybe like something to do with the production team or something like that.
Plausibly, yeah, that's just something I didn't think about. But yeah, so they go into the church. They end up finding the key card and this is what made me think like, yeah, he's for sure been through some of this stuff before, because he was finding Fontaine was finding all of the key card things way too simply.
Yeah, it kind of felt like maybe they had done this loop before, but
multiple times.
Yeah,
because something I did note when they got down there, and as far as they got pretty far, and they didn't trigger any alert systems or anything until he shot the container.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were totally going unnoticed, quote unquote, which I don't think they were going unnoticed. I think because you remember the moment where it's like we got 3 bogeys and all of that. I think they were just allowing them to find out, because it's like, what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, you're expendable.
You know what? I had that conversation too, and I was like, the only way that you could convince anybody is by making sure everybody meets their own clone.
True. And everybody don't have.
Well, I didn't realize that until later on, and I was like, because my initial thoughts were like, once they found out that there were clones, it was like, well, dang, nobody's gonna believe this.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they're able to release the clone so everybody can meet their own clone. I was like, nobody's gonna believe this. That's why they don't have to fight so hard.
Right, which that actually does happen later, and I thought that was probably the best way for that to go down.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, they discover an underground city that runs under the entire Glen and runs the Glen. It's an entire network, has cars down there and all kinds of statements on the wall. Real. And I have to say it this way. I don't really know any other way to say it. It reminded me of a whole lot of Nazi Germany, or like the end of those times, like when the whole revolution is restarting up and the world's rebuilding itself. And one of the statements or the slogan down there is "winning the race of the future." What?
Well, because obviously white people are conspiring to turn 6.5 6.7 billion people into white people.
Hey man, I mean,
you got to start somewhere. You
right?
Start. I mean,
they got all these research labs and training grounds down there. Something.
Yeah. It's gonna be a long process, but
right, it definitely gonna be a long process. But so Fontaine finds the cloning room, and they keep going through everything, and they're decanting, and I had to look that up. And essentially, when they were decanting, it's almost like reanimating. So they were like starting the reanimation process. Yeah, for each person that they had went by, and I wonder what effect that had on each of those bodies, because immediately nothing changes.
I guess it depends on if they have a consciousness in them at all.
And seemingly they don't, as we saw later in the movie.
Yeah.
I don't even know how they were able to move around if they didn't have any kind of level of functionality.
Well, they weren't catatonic. They simply didn't have any memories.
And I'm sorry, what type of trigger word can be used by anybody? That's stupid.
What kind of trigger word can be used by the same person it can be used on?
Yeah.
That made me so mad. We weren't there yet, but
I know. I'm sorry.
that was the. You know what that was for me, Nick? That was the. I had to wrap this shit up.
I said the exact same thing. We were like,
I was wondering if it was gonna happen, but I was wondering how come.
Why do you leave him?
Well, I'm jumping the gun a bit, but later on, I was wondering why he didn't just do that again instead of the other stuff that happened. So I was like, all right, whatever.
Hey, man. So, yeah. He tries to shoot him clone self through the container, and the alarm sounds. They end up escaping. They go into the strip club. And this is when we see how much control they have over the actual Glenn, because the DJ in the strip club just starts changing songs to hypnotize the people who were in the club, and hypnotizes them to the point at which now they're chasing after the trio as they run away from the conspirators, only to be stopped by Kiefer Sutherland in the middle of the road. That was underwhelming.
Needed a paycheck, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Actually, I thought that was going to be so much more interesting than it actually was, honestly.
It was very strange. It was very strange.
It almost out of place. I liked how Chester gets out of the vehicle, and I was like, are we about to have a Neo and Mr. Smith type of moment? What's going on here? This is about to be hardcore. It was not. That scene was
an explanation for you in the private chat for Kiefer Sutherland's character.
Fair.
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
It's absolutely the case, man. It's absolutely the case. Yeah.
You know what's so funny? Yeah, I can agree.
His name is Nixon. Just for the record.
Is that what his character's name is?
Yeah.
Oh, very on the nose.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was just looking through the cast.
I didn't remember anybody ever calling his name at any point either. But yeah, so we go. Sutherland or Nixon arrives, and we find out that he is actually Kevin Bacon. Lies of America.
And just so you know, the DJ's name is DJ Strangelove.
Right? Yeah. DJ Strangelove.
And he was on the radio too, so.
Okay. He's through the whole thing.
Yeah, he's a part of the apparatus.
Oh, you almost said it.
The what?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
So true that all of this is a necessary effort, and then he basically displays his amount of mind control over not only Fontaine and Chester, but also over Slick Charles. I wasn't being funny. I really slipped that time. And that was actually the most exciting part of this movie, and the most confusing part most exciting part of that scene, and one of the most confusing parts of this movie. Because if y'all could have did that the whole time, why is he able to snoop at all?
Yeah, I mean, why is anything able to happen? They all have cameras. They're all controllable by a magic word. I don't know.
Right. But then this is when we also find out that Yo-Yo is not a clone, and she's now back the next day, because everything then already went down and Kiefer left. But the next day, she's now trying to talk life back into Fontaine, and he ain't feeling that shit. He over it. He's done. He's going back to the world, and to the point
Back
which
to his NPC life.
Yep. And to the point at which even Frog has nothing to say to him. Frog is lost for words. He's giving him all he can. Fontaine's mama is when we find out she don't exist, but we realize that he realizes Junebug is basically his little brother. And he also realizes little brother never exists. Because I don't think Junebug is a clone. The little boy, I don't think he's a clone.
I think it just maybe he's not a clone.
He's just a kid.
Yep.
But how long has he been a kid?
Okay, that's a good question.
You know,
damn, yeah, because that's when you put we have to put that into context. If we put that part onto this, then yeah, there's a lot of questions we have to ask.
What was the guy's name that was with Kiefer Sutherland? What was his name again?
Chester.
That was Fontaine with a goatee.
That was Fontaine with permed hair.
Permed hair and a goatee.
Right. Okay. So I wasn't tripping. Okay, I thought that was him.
That was Agent Fontaine.
Right. Okay.
Agent Tang.
Okay.
Agent Tang.
Honestly, I thought that was going to be Tyrone. Because that's something I kept wondering through this whole movie.
Who's Tyrone?
Tyrone Fontaine.
We still ain't met this Tyrone. Yeah, I was thinking like it's Tyrone. His first name is Tyrone Fontaine. Fontaine Tyrone. Chester is Tyrone, but no, it's just Chester. So anyway, but yeah, so he ends up going to talk to Slick, and they kind of have their little powwow around them. They get back together, but then they also find out when they're looking for Yo-Yo that Yo-Yo has been snatched up by the man, and Biddy is the only person that seen it. The man. That's right. And
nobody.
All we needed was one guy walking around with a notepad crossing stuff off.
Silly. So they discuss everything, and they start to realize that they have things that they have never experienced, but they're still affecting them. Like Fontaine realizes he ain't never had no little brother, but he still loves him. And Slick Charles realizes he ain't never been 1995 Player of the Year, but it still feel real to him. And to me, that was that, and this was also agreed upon by someone else, or by my wife specifically, when we were talking. What that was is the overstanding trauma that we're always talking about in the Black community from slavery and all these other things. Is like there are plenty of things that we discuss and we take on to the point of which you might have never experienced it, but it's affecting you very much so. And that's what that moment was about. All of these things that we take on generationally that have been passed down, whether you really experienced it or not. Everybody's doing it, no matter what color you are. I think everybody can attain to that. But these are Black stereotypes, and that's what those two things were for them. It was almost like their slavery rendition, the trauma moment that created them, their inception moment. So yeah. So they basically have to find Yo-Yo, and they go and enlist Isaac. They enlist Biddy, and they put on a performance of a lifetime so that they can get back into the underground, save Yo-Yo, and expose all this shit for what it is. And yeah, Fontaine gets shot. The whole hood link up. You know what I'm saying? Like Voltron, we connect. Swing swords like Voltron and all that. You know what I'm talking about? Anybody want to add something to this?
No, they just go down there and kill all the people, and then everything is
I don't
better.
know if they killed everybody.
They killed most of the people. Well, they let the clones go. I mean,
well, you don't see anybody coming out, really.
Yes. You see clones coming out.
The clones
right,
come out.
But you don't see most of the white folks that was down there coming out.
They know where the other exits are.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Yeah, they were putting.
I'm trying, but I don't have nowhere else to go with that. I was like, I have nowhere else to go with this. I'm in a corner. But yeah, no. They definitely go down there and kill all the white folk, which I thought was like, but y'all don't even know. And nobody except Fontaine knows that the head dude was a Black guy. And then he kills him, or has Chester kill him.
And so old Fontaine's reason for linking up with the devil, which he calls them in the movie, is because his brother was shot
Yeah, and he saw the way that they
by
just let him
gang
die.
violence.
No, he said it's by the police still.
It's by
The police.
yeah.
Of course, the police did it. Of
By the
course.
police,
Popo did it.
and they let him sit there and die because he could have survived.
Not
but
one
they
cop in
made-
this movie, but it was the police that killed the brother. Okay,
That's
cool.
right.
Yeah, plenty of people murdered, but it was the police that killed the brother.
That's right. That's right. I think that was intentional as well. For two reasons. I think for a real life reason, they just didn't want to incite extra violence towards the police in real life. But I also think that was intentional to continually mention the police and just not have them seen, because that's something else that people don't think about. How often do you see the police in one day?
I saw 5 cops today.
Granted,
I see them often. I don't know what
understand.
to say to that. I see them
I'm
all the
not
time.
saying it's a high or a low number. So with that being the case, we know we see them all the time. So to not see them in this movie, it's not like we don't think they're not there. They just don't show up as far as the storytelling.
Was there even any police cars like driving by?
That they're there, huh?
No, there
Probably
were
not.
no police cars
so.
driving by. But the logic is kind of the logic is more sound if he is because his whole thing is, I want to make black people white because my brother was shot by the police,
and they ignored his body and let him die and all that good shit. Yeah. And I had to clean the blood off of his body. And also, what I paid
attention, a memory he didn't give him.
Right. Well, how about how old Fontaine was? Because even though, we might be shooting light at it, old Fontaine was like in his 80s. So when he lost his brother, that was like the 60s, maybe? Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's definitely fair. I just
but why perpetuate? Never mind. Okay.
Exactly.
Because he's that severely traumatized. I think that's a part of.
Bruh.
No. I'm with you. I totally agree with you. I'm simply saying I think that's what a part of the point of his character was also, is that, again, just like in the movie Gray Matter, where the guy, they just don't realize like what you're doing makes the problem that much more. Like, you're not helping, you are the problem.
Well, of course he's the problem. I mean, that's pretty obvious, but I just don't understand how he believes that he's doing any good.
Right. I couldn't put together those mental gymnastics either.
No.
Because I'm like, I get if you're trying to work inside the evil organization to subvert it, I get that.
Right.
But you're not subverting anything.
Right.
No.
You're just moving a plan along.
Yeah, I think he was just evil.
You're putting batteries in the back, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree with all that. I really think he was just evil. And there was no
Can we make villains evil again? Just for evil's sake?
I think they just did.
I think you're right, but we
I
complain
don't.
then because it's not good enough, and I don't think you can.
We said that. We did say that last week. You're right. We literally said that in Gray Matter.
Right. Because that was just a villain just to be villainous, and it was kind of hokey.
Because she was a mom and she was a real bad person, but all of a sudden she wasn't a bad person. He was a bad person, and it's like, can somebody be a bad person?
Yeah, or have a reason to be a bad person. I think that's maybe what Mike you're talking about. You want that sort of like classic villain that has an understandable goal.
He wants mustache twirling.
Yeah, but they all had an understandable goal, whether it was to hold the Earth for ransom or to blow up a volcano or to, destroy the moon. They all had a goal.
Or block out the sun.
Or block out the sun.
Oh, yeah. Don't forget, blocking out the sun on Thursday.
Yeah.
Apparently that's a real thing, but that's another conversation.
Yeah. We'll have that.
I know exactly
mosquitoes.
What you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Fontaine mind controls Chester and has him kill old Fontaine. They end up releasing all the clones into society because the surface doors are open. And then you see them discussing going to Memphis as clone release is all over the news.
Okay. Now, since we made it to this point, how is he able to use the code word for the clones?
We already kind of talked about that. That shit don't make sense. That was probably the one or two biggest issues for me. And both of my biggest issues are with Fontaine. So.
But how come at no point but still, how come Nixon, when he was fighting with Slick Charles, and what's her name, Yo Yo, in the tube room, that he didn't just use it to subdue what's his name.
because he felt he already had him beat and didn't realize there was another one behind him.
Okay.
He did.
Okay.
He was being arrogant. He thought he had already beat him.
All right. Fair
Plot.
Mm.
enough. I wouldn't take risks.
Because essentially that's what it is, but that's what it came down to. Like, he had the ego. Like, it was supposed to be his big ego moment. Because this woman can't beat me. Right? You know what I mean?
Man, that's why villains always lose.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm gonna walk out of the
You-
room and close the door and lock it and be over here doing something totally different while
Right. While the laser slowly.
Yeah,
Right.
you got a monologue before killing the hero. Yeah.
And let me
Right.
tell you my total plan, because
Right.
it's a whole nother 8 feet before you die.
Damn Bond villains.
But yeah, so they release all the clones and they discuss going to Memphis. But then when we turn around, we see the day in the life of an LA Fontaine, and we see
Right.
all the clones released in Los Angeles.
Was
and we
he living in the
realize,
Friday house?
No.
I swear they made that look like the Friday house, like on purpose.
They did kind of
And
make him
he
look
was
like
wearing the
Smokey.
blue flannel too.
Man, that's because he was a Crip.
I know he was. Definitely was that. Yeah.
Oh, right. No, you're right. He wouldn't be Smokey. He would be Craig.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
Craig. Yeah.
He would be Craig. Yeah. But turned out his name ain't Craig or Smokey or
It's
Data. His
Tyrone.
name's Tyrone. So now we know who they clone. They clone Tyrone. And Tyrone found out, not because he was a part of it like Fontaine was. He's sitting at home. He got up, went through his routine, lived his weights, hung out with his homies, hit up the liquor store, got his Rillos, got his brew. You know what I'm talking about?
Same loop the other one is in.
Same loop, just, got LA tattoos and mannerisms and shit. Cornrows to the back because he a real one. And
West, y'all.
West, y'all. As he lighten up with his loafers on and his homies
You know what
all
I'm saying?
gather around. Because, in LA, everybody smoke personal. That's why you got like 5 blunts lit in the scene. And
Hey, man.
he going to put it back to his mouth, and they look like, oh, look, they cloning niggas. And I can't believe they cloning Boga.
Hey, when he
Tyrone,
seen his
ain't that
face on
you?
TV, they all looking at him like,
Seen
hey.
him with the nappy hairdo too. Like, oh, braids
Right.
ain't done. Like, you know what you look like when you tacky, huh? Yeah,
Mhm.
you know what you
Bruh,
look like when you tacky.
why you on TV looking like a
Tyrone, ain't that you?
runaway?
Now that wasn't in the Glen. That was in LA.
I was in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are we assuming that the Glen crew went to LA to liberate them?
That is what they kind of insinuated. What I also
Yeah.
thought was, whether it's them or not, that being on the news or making the news in general, it's going to end up making social media, and because of that, it's going to incite other people to start looking into it. People who aren't clones to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I thought that was actually pretty cool that Tyrone seen himself on the news, and then we got a new song from Erykah Badu. Somebody done clone Tyrone. That shit was funny. I'm sorry. Like, funny. But again, for me, a lot of the original music was funny because it was all kind of right into it. Now, would I be listening to any of that shit other than maybe they clone Tyrone outside of this movie? Hell no. Way too loopy for me. But maybe not. Who knows? But yeah, I don't want to listen to none of that stuff because I actually believe they be trying to hypnotize us with certain music.
Well,
and I ain't listening to nothing that gets go round and round and around and around and around. No. Oh, you're getting sleepy. Is that Snorlax on the mic? Get away from here.
No, it's DJ Strangelove.
I was about to say DJ Easy. So
I know where that's from.
everybody knows where that's from. Anyway, so yeah, that's actually the end of this movie. There's nothing else about the movie to add. It's really us adding more flavor and thought and comments to what we are talking about.
No, I think we've gone through it for me. I don't know. Mike, you've been kind of quiet. Got anything else to say?
No, I think we all kind of got the same impression.
Okay.
I'll take your word for
Keely?
that. Yeah, no,
I'll
I
leave
hear
it
you.
open ended. Why not? Let's yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So yeah, with
what are we
that,
rating this, guys?
let's get some ratings in this joint. I personally like I said at the top, the music, because I could go first. The music I liked a lot, like a lot. The cast I liked a lot. The acting I liked. I totally understand where Nick is coming from with the audio sound for the dialogue. I had my movie turned up today pretty high, so I didn't have the same issue as much.
Yeah,
But
me too.
I was really like in cinematic mode today. Um, did I watch this today? I might have watched it, but whenever I watched it, I was in cinematic mode. Like I had, it not as loud as you can go, but I was like trying to hear the background noises, trying to hear the crickets. Um, Everything about this movie makes me want to watch it again. And I mean, even the parts that make me like, yo, why did they do that? Like the parts I didn't care for still are good enough to make me watch it twice. The concept is good enough to make me watch it twice. Noting that some things that like what's his name? I think his name is Brian Michael Tyree, or I can't remember his name right now. But there's another actor who's in this, and I didn't see his character. I'm interested in that, and just kind of putting the story all together again, um, outside of preparing for a review. With that being said, I said a good job by all the actors and everything. Cinematic choices were pretty good. Some of them were nauseating. Some of the cinematic choices were a little nauseating, but I understood why they made some of those choices. And with that being said, I rate this a 7.
Fair.
Yeah, I rate this a
Um,
7.
I can dig that. I mean, to be honest with you, I hated this movie completely, but I was entertained by it enough to say that I gave it a 6. The only real gripe I had, technically, was that in the beginning of the movie, a lot of the scenes were really dark.
Fair.
It were hard for me to see a lot of it. I had to make sure I had no glare on the TV because I was watching it during the daytime. So that was my only real gripe as far as the cinematics of it all. The story is what it is. The acting was great. I mean, I just didn't like. I didn't like the concepts, the
Right,
tropes.
right.
But that's just my inner blackness coming out in that I didn't like those things. But I understood. It was kind of the point of the movie.
Mhm.
So that's why I say I hated it, but I was entertained by it, and I gave it a 6.
Indeed. For those who don't know, Mike is a very Cliff Huxtable type of not play.
Damn.
Yikes.
All right. Well,
I got some pudding if you want some.
No, that's my fault. I'm
he's
sorry,
calling you
y'all.
Old Fontaine right now.
I'm sorry, y'all. That's my
Right.
fault. That was my fault. I forgot who I was talking to. That's what really just happened just now. I'm sorry, Nick. I know I'm cutting in.
That's
I
all
forgot
right.
who I was talking to. That's my fault.
Would you like a pudding pop?
Yeah.
I forgot who I was talking to. Man, I'm sorry. Dang. Did I
Never
tell
had
you
my
I like
barbecue
it?
sauce.
Man,
Tired of bullshit.
got some Kodak film too.
My penis damn far. I'm tired of y'all already.
All right. Well, yeah, I didn't dislike the movie, really. I think that there were certain elements of the story that I felt could have been a little bit more clear. I do want to say that I think that the sci-fi element is sort of usurped more by the social commentary than the sci-fi nature of the story. So what starts off supernatural really ends up being, white people bad. And that's okay, but it did sort of have more promise, I think, in that, like, it could have created a more rich adversary. I found it kind of just rudimentary, like, oh, well, we're going to spike your chicken in your purple drink, and, because we want to make you white for some reason, and assumedly do that to the entire population of the earth. And yeah, so the cinematography was decent. I'm not a huge fan. I really wanted to like the graininess of this movie because I do like that stylistic choice, but I found it too noisy, especially in the dark scenes that Mike had mentioned. I found that the grain was way too noisy, that was causing some visual distortions. And then also, grain film is because it's a film. And so that's like, it's spread even across the whole shot, but you could tell that this was digitally added because whatever was in focus was much less grainy than the rest of the shot. So I thought that was kind of like, it was a bold stylistic choice. I don't know if it hit 100% of the time. I think the cinematography, other than that, is pretty decent. The sound design is one of my roughest parts of it, to be honest. I think that the quiet parts are way too quiet, and then the loud parts, we just got surround sound. So it's like if I want to actually hear the people talking, I'm going to blow my windows out in the next scene because there's a loud song playing. Other than that, I think it's original. I think that the story is interesting. And I have to give it points for being something different in a sea of a lot of boring stuff. This wasn't that boring. I think that the time was pretty decent, but I think I'm going to give this like a 5.5, maybe a 6. I don't think it's bad in any respect. I just also think that there's some dubious messaging here. That if you're sophisticated enough to understand the satire that it's trying to point to, maybe you can appreciate it, but it also is blatantly exercising negative stereotypes about everybody. So if you're not nuanced enough to understand that that's a satirical choice, you could be led to believe that this is how they're going to be portraying Black people and white people. And, I think maybe some people might be turned off by that, like you had mentioned at the top. So I'm going to go with 6. I think it's a 6.
Indeed.
Okay.
That brings us to 6.1, I believe, 6.2, something like that. All right, yeah, sounds good. And I totally understand everybody's ratings on this one, particularly because, like I said, and Nick just mentioned, I strongly believe if you were to ask 100 people, I don't care if they're 100 Black people, 100 white people, mix the people up, it doesn't matter. I think you're going to get a sliding scale of reviews on this one, simply because I do think this is one of those topics that if you haven't sat with it long enough to laugh about it, it's no matter what side of it you're on, yeah, you could really be like, yo, this is bullshit. I'm not sitting with this. But hey, I mean, we did. So if you've ever listened to us talk, we don't like a lot of shit. So it don't really matter. I lie. We like most things, but we're really honest. We like most things,
Right.
but we're really honest about the realities of how it translates onto screen.
I like bad movies for sure. I can admit
Oh yeah.
that.
If I'm being honest, I think bad movies are a thing of our generation. Like it's literally just something that we have an affinity to get through somehow.
Hmm.
The 80s were full of bad movies.
That's what I
Hey,
was really thinking. I was trying to find a nice way to put it because there was a
Mhm.
lot of movies from particular movie houses in that time.
well, I
Yeah.
mean, like I love horror movies. Most of them are absolutely bad. Most
Mm.
of them, but there's
Just
a few gems that stand out.
I just rewatched Cabin in the Woods last night. That was
Oh
fun.
wow, nice.
Great movie.
Mm-hmm.
I want to,
Cabin in the Woods. Yeah.
something I
Yep.
want to rewatch VHS, the original.
That
I
was a
haven't
good
seen that
one.
in a long time.
hmm Like I see, like all the sequels,
Have you
2,
seen it
3,
before?
5. The original, yeah,
Yeah.
number one,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, most of the sequels are pretty awful.
hmm All of those are on all the streaming platforms regularly, but to find the
Yeah.
first one is pretty difficult. Last place I saw that had it was Netflix. Bring it back, Netflix. You're making the money off of this new stuff you're giving us. You can give us some of the stuff we love back again. Like um. No, I guess that wasn't that good. I'll keep that to
Huh.
myself.
Star-studded sci-fi comedy. Hmm.
That's what this is labeled as.
That's what whatever this website is saying it is.
Hmm. Okay.
There's a couple of chuckles, but it's pretty light on the comedy.
Yeah, pretty light.
Right.
I run with mystery, thriller or something like
What is
that.
this? Pure
Mhm.
wow.
I was going to say sci-fi drama almost, to
Right.
be honest.
Yeah, I think that's what was a mystery drama is what it was labeled
Mystery
as.
drama, yeah.
Well,
Mystery
these labels
fantasy.
matter
Sorry,
too,
mystery
so I
fantasy.
don't know.
These labels matter towards where they're going to be classified when the Oscars drop.
Right.
That's all they matter towards. Everything else, they don't matter. You know, what was the last time you went to a category to find a movie?
Only when I'm looking for what kind of state of horror movies that they have on a platform. That's
Yeah.
the
It
only
wasn't
time.
mystery my point was going to be when you did it, it wasn't for mystery or fantasy, right?
No,
That
never.
was the point I was going to make.
Yeah, never.
So it's not going to be it's not going to have a lot of competition in those fields, so it's going to get to the top a little faster and be seen to compete with the things that are in those more popular genres. It's just how I've always realized they do things. Like sometimes you realize, like, how does that fit into that? Oh, that's how it became Oscar nominated because there was nothing competing in this particular label.
Mm.
I pay too much attention. You could tell me it's fine.
You pay too much attention.
With that being said, yeah, we got to about a 6-1 when we browned all of this down. And that's standard. That means this was a pretty decent movie. We liked it. We didn't love it. We didn't hate it. You should go and see it. They Cloned Tyrone, currently showing on Netflix. You can also see it in theaters. So go ahead, get your tickets or go over to your platform. What I've always noted since this all started with the streaming platform overhaul is if it is in theaters and on your streaming site, you probably will only have it streaming for X amount of time. So go and watch it while it's streaming or go ahead and hop into your theaters. Check out They Clone Tyrone. We just gave you our full rundown. Thank you for tuning in. It is a wonderful Sunday, and you can go ahead and look at your screen right now because this is the time, this is the place where you will find out, you will discover all of the shows that we have right here for you. You can check out our main hub page, Thinkering Talks, on Facebook, and you can also check out all of our other individual pages for all of the shows that I'm going to name for you. They are If Numbers Could Talk, Screen Time Continuum, Strawberries and Coffee, King _of_ Ilion, Exofathom, check them out, and This Merry Moment. They are on for you Tuesday through Saturday. There will always be a new show on each of those days. Monday is a free day for you to socialize, talk to your friends, have a case of the Mondays because you just got back to work, all of those things. And hopefully you can use some of our shows to unwind. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you guys for sharing, liking, subscribing, commenting. And don't forget, we'll be right back here with you on Wednesday to give you a whole nother review. For the Screen Time Continuum, I am Keelan.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Mike.
We appreciate you guys. And hopefully this is not what we were cloned for. And yeah.
And given the choice, go see it in theaters. Thumb your nose at the government.
Definitely do that.